What is up, wrestling fans? It's that time of the week for the FLZ Wrestling Team to talk all things pro wrestling and call it right down the middle. That's right. It's time for this week's edition of 607 TWS, the wrestling show powered by FanlightZone.com. I am your host. My name is Rich, and I am back into my new studio, my new home studio. It's still a work in progress, so don't judge the collectibles that are still slatted in there. I have a very good friend who is here with me today, who I still need to make me some things so I can display them properly. But that's another story for another day. But before we get there, I have to introduce my co-host. She's with me each and every week, not like that other jabroni who isn't here tonight. That's right. She is here each and every week. She is the hunter of the Pokemans because she's got to catch them all. She is the guru of cosplay. But most importantly for this show right here, she is a pro wrestling connoisseur. She is the first lady of Fanlight Zone. It is the one and only Miss Sammy. How are you this week?
I'm doing good this week, but we're gearing up for a pretty busy weekend, Rich. Are you ready for this weekend?
I mean, here's the sad part about it. Like, peek behind the curtain, because obviously we do comics and pop culture here at Fanlight Zone and a little bit of wrestling, because obviously the wrestling show here. But I still have to find time to go see Supergirl, because
yes.
Unlike our fearless leader, the editor-in-chief, Ken M., who is currently, I think, watching Supergirl, I have to find time before the end of this weekend because, not that I'm complaining. We're here live talking pro wrestling. We have a whole pro wrestling slate, Saturday, Sunday, Friday night, you can count whatever. But yeah, it's a busy one. And we're going to have a busy show because, as you pointed out before we even went live, we should just change this name of the show to 607 TWS, the preview wrestling show, because we got not one, not two, not even three, but four, count them, four major shows, one by WWE, one by the good friends over at TNA Wrestling, one by WWE NXT, and last but not least, AEW X NJPW X CMLL X Stardom Forbidden Door. So we got a lot on the docket. We're going to go in order of when the shows are airing. But before we dive in and get into all that, let me get the business out of the way. Make sure you head on over to the place that powers this all, FanlightZone.com. There you will find not only some really great comic reviews. By the way, this past week, over 40. That's right. Nobody's doing it like we are at Fanlight Zone. And while you're there, you can also find all of the links for the social medias. If you are watching us on Twitch or X right now, make sure you're following us there as well. And as well as make sure you head on over to the Fanlight Zone YouTube channel. Smash that subscribe, hit that bell icon for notifications, and hit that thumbs up to let the algorithm know that we're going to slaughter it like we're like it's some jabroni. You know what I mean? It's been a good one. We've got a lot of new people. Yeah, like Ken. I know. I'm going to make fun of him from, we got used to the third chair again. And now when the work is the most, he abandons us, Sammy. The work is the most. 4 preview shows. And he's like, nah, I'm going to go watch Will Poulter star in Supergirl. Oh, I joke. I kid. I know the internet's going to come for me for that one, but you enjoyed it, and that's all that matters.
All right. That was funny.
All right, so we got a big docket. We got a big show, so let's dive right in because we are going to be talking a lot of pro wrestling here. We got 4 shows to break down, so I encourage everybody as we break down and give our picks and give our takes on what we think is going to happen. I do encourage each and every one of you to join the chat. Give us your thoughts. We always want to hear from you and keep this conversation going. So I said before, we're going to go into the order of which the shows are going to be airing. So kicking us off with the only show on Saturday, because 3 out of 4 shows are on Sunday, which we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll save that for when we get to Sunday, but we have to kick it off on Saturday. And Saturday we are kicking it off. And as you know, I like to put it, beautiful, progressive, lovely Riyadh, Saudi Arabia for WWE Night of Champions. This, of course, is going to be early on, Sammy. I do believe it's a 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time start time if you are here in the States. Check your local listings. I'm not going to run down everything. We just usually give Eastern times. But yeah, it's an early one, and it's the only one on Saturday. So giving them credit there, they're going to have nobody to butt up against. Miss Sammy, are you ready to talk some Night of Champions?
Let's get into it.
All right, let's talk about a match. Well, we're going to go in reverse order of what I have here because I want to end with the tournament finals because they have big implications going into SummerSlam. So let's start off with a match that just got changed not that long ago. Your new WWE Women's United States Champion as of a couple weeks ago, Tiffany Stratton, taking on former WWE Women's Champion Jade Cargill. And of course, originally we were supposed to have Mommy involved somewhere here, but due to injury, we kind of swapped out. Now we have Tiffany Stratton in there. So Stratton versus Cargill, Women's United States Championship on the line. I got to be honest, we've seen these two go at it before. Obviously, that's how the era of Jade started, was by defeating one Tiffany Stratton in a match that I think that all of us were pretty much underwhelmed with. No offense to anybody involved. Here we are, fast forward, Riyadh, Night of Champions, Miss Sammy. Who do you got walking out of Riyadh, your Women's United States Champion?
Yeah, I think it's an unfortunate situation for Tiffy because I think Jade is going to win here. Jade's having a stronger 2026 and is deserving of the opportunity to have this type of belt, but I don't love that it's at the expense of Tiffy. So it could be interesting to see what happens here. But I expect some sort of a finish and new.
You know, I wish I could disagree with you, but I mean, it looks like Jade, maybe everybody was a little early on writing her off as now since she lost to Mommy, it feels like she's kind of been reinvigorated. So I feel like this would be a good time to put the United States title on her, especially if Mommy is going to be out. You might need Tiffany Stratton to be back in that top tier spot because maybe that's the problem. Maybe we push Jade a little bit too far, too fast. Pull her back, put her on the United States strap on her, let Tiffany Stratton go back to the top of the card, especially if we are going to be missing Rhea for any bit of time. And I think that's a win. I think that would be, in my opinion, the best thing that could happen here at Night of Champions. From one United States Championship to the next, the WWE Men's United States Championship will also be on the line as your champion, Mr. Whoop That Trick Williams, taking on the absolute one, Ricky Starks. And, listen, this has been a good feud. I mean, both of these guys are amazing on the microphone. It is not lost upon me that both United States titles are on the line with 4th of July right around the corner. It is also not lost upon me that this is in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia for 2 United States championships on the line. You can read into that what you will. But I'm going to start this off. And I think that the generation of Whoop That Trick needs to continue on until you're moving him up the roster. I don't think they're going to quite do that right now. So I'm going Trick Willie and still your United States champion, but I'm looking for a great match. I'm looking for a coming out party for Ricky Starks. He's going to, as much as Trick Williams has already arrived. We talked about it. Trick Williams is one of the top 5 most over people in all of WWE currently, only in a lot of ways, I think only behind Oba Femi as far as crowd reaction goes. I could be wrong. I mean, granted, your CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes are still getting reactions. I just think that between Oba and Trick, they've really kind of stolen, some of the thunder from the crowd, which is a beautiful thing. And I think so. You don't need to do that, but I think that Ricky has to show up and show out. I think this is a good opportunity. Trick's going to go out there and show up. He's going to give Ricky 110%. If Ricky goes out there, gives 100%, this could be a big time making of one Ricky Saints, and that's what I'm calling for here. Sammy, what is your thoughts on the Men's United States Championship match at Night of Champions?
Yeah, I think we're in agreement here. Although I don't look at this as being the end of this feud. I think Ricky may ultimately be the one to dethrone Trick at some point, but just not yet.
I agree with that. I can actually see that happening as well. Let's move right along to let's talk about blood feud. In a steel cage match, we've got the unbreakable one, Brad Breaker, taking on Seth freaking Rollins. I mean, this is the implosion of the Vision still going on. If it wasn't imploded already with what happened this past week on Raw when Braun Breaker just, said, hey, proved your point, Miss Sammy, that the WWE Tag Team titles are an afterthought. Is he just said, "Hey, F those belts. I'm going to go chase after the guy that I get in a steel cage for," as Ken M would say, reasons. And yeah, so Miss Sammy, what you got? Who you got walking out of Saudi Arabia as the winner here?
In a match I could really kind of care less about because it just hasn't been the Vision story hasn't been interesting really since about 3 weeks into it. So at this point, Braun Breaker, because I think if he was to just smash Seth Rollins into pieces in a steel cage, that'd be fun. Smash a new character into him.
You gotta love it. Somebody's got to at some point, right? Somebody's got to take care of it. I love how I just knocked my light over. If anybody wants to know at home, because I'm like, hey, why is that so bright in my face? And the accent lights were getting it. So yeah. So there's that. Technical difficulties. This is the new home studio. Listen, let's get back to it. I would love to believe that they're going to say, you know what, we should have Braun Breaker win this match because that would be great. But in the era of bankruptcy, of creative bankruptcy in particular, I'm going to say they're going to go with Seth Rollins for reasons. Like, I don't know why. I hope I'm wrong. I think there's a higher upside to Braun winning here. Not that this is going to end his career if he doesn't. Don't trust me. Braun Breaker's going to be fine, folks. Like, anybody who thinks that Braun Breaker's not going to be fine, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, I think for some reason Seth must win. You know, like, you remember back in the day, Hogan must pose? I think Seth must win. All right, let's move right along. And now we're going to the triple threat match for the undisputed WWE Championship. Your champion, QB1, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, defending against Gunther and Sami Zayn. Setup for this has been pretty interesting, Miss Sam. Very interesting setup here. Basically rubbing it in. Normally Cody Rhodes would be the most over in this match, but we are going to be in Riyadh. Riyadh is very pro Sami Zayn. We've talked about this before. This is not the first time that Sami Zayn has gotten a title shot in Saudi Arabia. Let's go back to the Royal Rumble, where he also got a title shot. And we said, hey, they should have pulled the trigger then, and they didn't. Here it is again. The question this time is, do they miss that opportunity twice? And because of creative bankruptcy, I'm going to say yes. However, the right call here, because I get to go first, the right call here is Sami Zayn wins. You get the huge crowd pop. You carry him into SummerSlam where he can drop the belt to whoever, doesn't really damn matter. Right? You know what I mean? But I think you take because right now, what are you doing with Cody Rhodes? First of all, Cody Rhodes is over with or without the belt. You don't need the belt on Cody Rhodes to have Cody Rhodes over. So there's that. And secondly, as we pointed out before, just like his first title reign, just like his second title reign, his third title reign has been very lackluster. Not due to him, but due to the fact that WWE, for some reason, does not know how to book a champion. So they're probably going to go and still... Unless they give the belt to Gunther as a way to say, hey, originally you were supposed to retire Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. Now, unfortunately, plans have changed because, Obafemi is a thing. But I'm going to say it, Sammy. I think that Cody Rhodes still walks out, and still, even though the right call should be Sami Zayn, just to boost something into it. What's your thoughts? Who's leaving Saudi Arabia, the undisputed WWE champion?
Well, I think you... I understand your logic, and normally I would agree with your logic, but I think you're forgetting just how bankrupt WWE is right now, and I believe that Sami Zayn may actually win this match because that'll put him up against main event Jey Uso, because let's just keep the bloodline going and going and going, baby. So you can just bring Sammy back into that storyline. So now you got main event Jey Uso, the King of the Ring winner, going up against Sami Zayn at SummerSlam. It's the bloodline rivalry all over again. Yeah, so why not? And then Sammy can lose. He can have the belt for like a month and he can lose. That'll be great. Wonderful. Bankrupt, whatever. I'm picking Sami Zayn.
There you go. I mean, I guess that is a creative bankruptcy thing, and you're going from a different angle. So we might as well just go there because the King of the Ring tournament final, the winner will be crowned the King of the Ring and earn a championship match at SummerSlam. You have main event Jey Uso taking on the Ruler, Oba Femi. And you already tipped your hand. So go ahead. Who's walking out your King of the Ring for 2026?
Come on, everyone for months was complaining about how Jey Uso, we were sick of Jey Uso, and then you saw them all. They're all doing it again. He's winning King of the Ring. He's winning King of the Ring. Come on. And then it's going to be, oh, you're not going for my belt because I'm Roman Reigns. You're going to go for the other one because it's Sami Zayn.
If this was anywhere but Saudi Arabia, I would say that they might have something going for them. But they've tipped their hands because there's somebody notably not on the card in Saudi Arabia that the Saudis absolutely adore, who is still under contract and is going to be there for the big money payday. And that is one Mr. Brock Lesnar. And I think because of what I said earlier, we both tipped our hands. I think that we're still going towards Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam in a maybe career versus career, even though I don't like that idea because we know Oba's not going to lose there. But Brock's career is definitely going to be on the line for the retirement. It was already, set in stone. And we thought it was going to be Gunther, but then after the business that was done at, of course, WrestleMania, and then, after the business that was done, in the next match, I think that the right call is Oba Femi, and that's why they should have never had him in the finals of this tournament, because I think now we are definitely getting main event Jey Uso to headline SummerSlam or open the show for the WWE Undisputed Championship, because why did that work so well last time? You know what I mean? It's part of the Bloodline, 5.0, I don't know, whatever we're on to storyline, as Roman Reigns wants to get Jey Uso away from him for reasons, doesn't trust him. He's got his new shiny toy in Jacob Fatu. Hey, Jey Uso, go and win. Go take the other championship. Don't be on my show. You know what I mean? Kind of stuff going on. You're going to be a man on your own island. Nonsense. It is what it is. And because of bankruptcy, I honestly don't think that you do Sami Zayn. That's why I think it's going to be Cody versus Jey Uso at SummerSlam, because that's the more bankrupt way to go, quite honestly. Because at least there's a built-in storyline with Sami Uso, Could get some dog going on. Hey, dog, they were friends. They're not friends. It is what it is. All right, I digress.
Boring.
It is. I digress. We have the Queen of the Ring tournament finale as well. Of course, the winner of the Women's Queen of the Ring will get a shot at the World Championship at SummerSlam, one of the World Championships, because notably, one of the people in this match is the WWE Women's World Champion, Liv Morgan, as she takes on former Women's World Champion, former Women's WWE Champion, former WWE Women's Tag Team Champion, which you can say all of that for Liv as well, and Io Sky. This match should be fantastic. I'm just going to say that. I think that this has got a lot of upside. The question is, do you want to pull the trigger and do Liv going after both belts, or do you want to move Io onto something? I think the interesting story, if Rhea's not injured, would be to have Io win and challenge Rhea, because as we know, Rhea Ripley has never defeated Io Sky in a title match ever. Mm-hmm. So that's an interesting match. Their friendship would come into play on top of the friendship coming into play. Like I said, you have that other backstory, so I like that there. But then again, and I really don't need to see Liv versus Rhea again. But if Mommy is going to be out, maybe you switch it up. You go with Liv, because then Liv versus a Tiffany Stratton, or Liv versus a Charlotte Flair, or Liv versus, it gives a big marquee feel for SummerSlam. Much like we said about, and we're going to talk about it later, about the potential of Mercedes Moné and Tekla at All In. You wanted your big summer event to have that marquee match. So if it's Rhea's going to be out and not coming back, and she won't be defending the title at SummerSlam, then I want to see Liv win. But if Rhea's going to be back and it's going to be her defending the belt, I want to see Io win, because I think that would be the better matchup, because there's a lot more story and it's more robust. Your thoughts, Miss Sammy?
Yeah, I'm definitely with you in that train of thought. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think ultimately Liv is going to win this match.
Yeah. You could be onto something. And I mean, once again, I just don't want to see her have to go up against Mommy again. It's just we've seen that match 1,275,000 times.
Well, it could set up a story where she just is like, well, there is no match. I don't have to defend my title. I'm the number one contender for my title. Like, you could go that route and then get people into the chase for it. But I don't know. Do we have faith they could do that really well?
No. The answer to that is no. Before we switch gears and switch over to talking about the next show, I'm moving on to Sunday. Final thoughts here. What are your final thoughts on Night of Champions as a whole? Is this something that's exciting you to watch Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening if you want to watch it on later on because you have things to do? Or is it just like, it's there and we have to watch it because of the wrestling show?
You know what? June is Pride Month, and I actually will be attending a Pride Month event on Saturday, so I will not be watching this during the time that it is live, and I will watch it back at some point into the evening just to see all the Pride that they're doing in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Beautiful, wonderful, progressive Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
With that being said, I'm a peek behind the curtain. I will also not be watching this live, not because I don't want to, but because I'll be at work. After I get out of work, I will then be watching it with Ken M and the dog, as long as no other breaking issues break out. We'll be watching it a little later. But you know what? I'm going to be honest. On paper, it doesn't look too bad. I feel like whenever I'm optimistic about a card in WWE, it usually means that I'm going to be let down and disappointed. So I'm not gonna get my hopes up too high, but I'm cautiously optimistic. But I know that they're going to fumble when it comes to the creative. I just know it.
Well, yeah, and obviously, from a fan perspective, and knowing some of the other shows that we have this weekend, I mean, there's some big challenges that the main card of WWE has to face. We know there's going to be a ton of commercials. We know the in-ring product isn't always their biggest focus. So it's like, when you have 3 other wrestling shows over the weekend where the in-ring product is going to be a much bigger focus, you need to step up your game, WWE main roster.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, we'll find out. But that brings us to something interesting. Sunday has got not 1, not 2, but 3 shows. We said there's 4 shows on the weekend. 3 of the 4 are happening on Sunday. This, honestly, not a great look for the companies involved. Because, so I understand AEW Forbidden Door, we knew that was going down. And I get that WWE is counter-programmed NXT because it's on the CW. It's not on pay-per-view, not on YouTube. It's on CW. So it's on semi-network television. I know they like to call it network television, but it's not technically, right? And then you have what we're going to talk about next, TNA Wrestling's Slammiversary, which, to their credit, they're going on early. 2 p.m. was the pre-show, 3 p.m. is the start. So if you watch Slammiversary, you are going to be able to watch either NXT Great American Bash or AEW's Forbidden Door, AEW / New Japan / CMLL / Stardom. I know it's all of those, but let's just throw it out there. And you're going to be able to watch them as well. It's going to be harder. Now, mind you, if you have multiple monitors going, you can watch both that night, but it's going to be hard to pay attention to the 7 p.m. start time for NXT Great American Bash and the 0 hour that also starts at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Forbidden Door. So that's going to be the interesting challenge this weekend. And so I know that, there's some workings and stuff like that. But Sammy, do you think this was a mistake to put 3 pay-per-views on? Well, I mean, I understand one's on TV, but still pay-per-view-ish on the same day.
Well, it would be a mistake of TNA and WWE, not AEW. I believe AEW was the first to announce, and they've just held firm. And I mean, all of them are putting out a product that's worthy of like a big weekend pay-per-view feel, but I think it's a huge risk for the other two. Even with TNA going earlier in the day, I still feel like it's a huge risk because if we live in an audience in a world where people are very kind of cost conscious, and it's like, I know AEW is going to deliver in the in-ring product, and if I can get some really decent storytelling out of it, that's the show of the weekend.
Mhm.
So TNA has been kind of floundering. Great American Bash, WWE. I mean, don't get me wrong, NXT is an amazing product, but in comparison to AEW, not at this time. So I don't know. I think it's a mistake. I know WWE is, trying to counter program AEW without really coming out and saying it. But if you really want to do it, WWE, put your main roster up against them and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. That's my thoughts as well. Let's now move on though, and let's talk about the event. TNA Wrestling presents Slammiversary. It's one of their bigger shows of the year, and it's going down from Boston, Massachusetts this Sunday. 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the pre-show. 3 p.m. is the start of the show. So giving them all the credit in the world. I don't know if it'll benefit them or, where their product has been, because we've obviously talked about that recently. But let's be honest, at least going early, you do not have to worry about butting up against either NXT or AEW. So if any fan does want to watch, they don't have to choose. That's the good news for TNA. That's where we start. Let's run down the card for Slammiversary, shall we? As it is, we have it right now. Coming up first, AJ Francis, big top gala, if you will, taking on and walking with Elijah. What are your thoughts on that, Miss Sammy?
I mean, it should be an interesting match. Should be interesting. I don't know what else beyond that. Who are you picking in this? Because
you're asking me if I give a damn. No, I'm gonna go with Elijah for reasons, but this is one of those. Okay. This is one of those times where TNA, like when you look at this card and you're like, okay, I understand every match, and then you get to that one, you're like, I get it. Top Dollar has been, a commodity in a little bit of a way for them, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna pick Elijah though. Did you get a pick or do you not care?
No, I'll pick Elijah with a guitar shot. Why not? Jeff Jarrett style, baby.
Why not? All right, next up though is let's go into the exciting matches. I said that was the one that was kind of giving me pause because the exciting matches. Let's start it off with Ultimate X. That's right, signature TNA wrestling move match. And of course, it's going to be for the TNA X Division Championship. Your champion, Cedric Alexander, defending against former champion Leon Slater, Frankie Kazarian, Mr. Elegance, Fabian Achner, who just came over to TNA Wrestling, KC Navarro, and the legendary, the indie legend, Amazing Red. There is some talent in this match of all across the boards. We have some legendary talent in Amazing Red. We have some up-and-coming talent in Leon Slater. We have Cedric Alexander, who's one of the most underrated wrestlers, in my opinion, on the roster. Also a veteran like Kazarian out there. Casey Navarro trying to remake a name for himself. There's a lot of cool stuff here. A lot of good ways this could go. You know what? I'm going to pick Leon Slater because I think Leon Slater is the franchise of not just the X Division, but TNA Wrestling. And I think if we're going to have a Slammiversary where we have a big party, we're going to crown Leon Slater as the champion once again. So that is my pick. Miss Sammy, who do you got walking out of Ultimate X as the X Division champion?
And still.
For Cedric Alexander.
Yeah, when you get to these big kind of matches where there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of people involved, I think if you look at them historically, it's typically an and still situation. So that's my gut.
All right. Let's move right along to the tag team division, but the Knockouts tag team division, as the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Championships will be on the line. Your champions, the Elegance brand, Heather and M by Elegance. Of course, they have the personal concierge with them, and they are going to be taking on the Unholy Alliance, if you will, Rosemary and Allie, back from the dead. Allie, by the way.
Back from the dead,
and now tagging with Rosemary, who was the one that killed her to begin with. And here we are. Tag titles on the line. You're in the hot seat on this one first, Miss Sammy. Who's leaving Boston? Your TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Champions.
Well, we all know I'm a big fan of Allie, so I have to go and new because she's back from the dead. She deserves a belt. Why not?
I come on here all the time when we talk about TNA wrestling, and I complain about the Elegance brand. Don't get it. Don't like it. They're not great in the ring. They're not great on the microphones. I get it. They think that because they're annoying that's the heel heat, and that's not really the heel heat. They're just, yeah, I'm sorry. I can't. I can't, Miss Sammy. I can't lie. So I hope and I pray that the return of Allie and her and Rosemary together, which is such a great unit from the past, and they have such great chemistry, they pull the trigger, and we have a new TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Champions, Rosemary and Allie, walking out with the belts. That's what I'm picking. However, because of their working relationship with World Wrestling Entertainment, they have learned how to have a little bit of, just a tiny bit of, creative bankruptcy. So I think that because Carlos Silva and the people over there don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, there's a possibility they think, oh man, the Elegance brand is getting real heat. Like, no, they're just not over. They're not getting real heat. They're getting the go away heat. They're not getting they're getting the heat that Dominic Mysterio originally got, and somehow he steered that ship to make it right, but it took some time. They've never been able to steer the ship, and I just don't see that happening. So hopefully, for the sake of TNA wrestling and the people who are watching, we get Rosemary and Allie for the win. All right, we got another match that doesn't have a belt on the line, but is definitely between two gentlemen who are very good at what they do. We got Eric Young versus Ricky Sosa in a match. And this is one of those times where I'm just going to throw it on the line. I'm not going to go too much into it. We've got a little bit of a feud here. Ricky Sosa could get really over by just beating Eric Young. I think the right call is to put Ricky Sosa over Eric Young. Eric Young is the veteran who should just be putting over people to take him to the next level. And I think that's what we should get here. Not quite as throwaway, in my opinion, as AJ Francis versus Elijah, because I think that Eric Young and Ricky Sosa can wrestle. No offense. And I know AJ Francis would take offense to that, but that's cool. Do you, big man? I'm just saying. It is what it is. Miss Sammy, who do you got winning?
Young.
Are you going Eric Young on this, huh?
I'm going Eric Young just because, we know there's some instability at TNA right now. So, we'll let the veteran win this one. Like, why not? Hey, Road Dogg's going to be booking this show soon enough, so get ready, everyone.
He's going to be announced at Slammiversary. There you go. You heard it here first. Next up, the TNA International Championship is on the line, and it is an open challenge. Your champion, Mustafa Ali, has laid down the open challenge. That means anybody, anywhere can accept said challenge. So the world is our oyster. Miss Sammy, who do you think will answer the challenge? And who do you think will leave Slammiversary as your as your international champion? I'm looking at the next match.
Well, this is interesting because here's an opportunity for TNA to actually kind of make that splash signing, bring somebody in. It's an open challenge. It's open to anyone. And there are plenty of people on the independent scene, out there that are available that may be willing to come in and make a commitment to TNA and work there for a while. So Mustafa Ali will be winning.
Any pick on who do you think? You want to throw one out there? Who do you think's going to challenge?
No, I got nobody. Who wants to go to TNA right now? I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong. I loved TNA last year, and I loved TNA the year before that. 2026 has not been a fun year for TNA. We don't know who's in charge there right now. I mean, we know who's in charge of the company, but we don't really know who's in charge of what's going on backstage day to day. We don't know where certain things are going. Is TNA really a desirable place to go right now? Not really.
That's a good question. I mean, but does it matter? It's the zeros behind the paycheck sometimes are all that matters, right? I don't think it's going to be anybody new because I think that would have been too easy. That would have been good to go out and grab a Killer Cross or,
I don't think it would be easy for them right now.
Well, I think it would. Money talks. Money talks, believe it or not. Like there's some people who got released from WWE not that long ago. Some of their no competes are up and, money talks, especially if you're trying to go back, so I'm going to say it like this. I think that if it wasn't for the fact that Christopher Daniels is a backstage guy in AEW, I'd say Curryman was going to be the definite choice here. But yeah, I'm with you. It's hard to pick somebody, but you know what? I'm going to say that it's going to be probably like, man, I don't even know who it could be. It's going to be somebody disappointing. I'm sorry. I'll eat my words if it isn't. We come on next week and it was somebody amazing. I'll eat my words, but it's going to be somebody disappointing. I mark my words for that. And yes, I do think Mustafa Ali is still the champion, unless they hit some kind of home run ball that we don't see coming. Yeah. All right. Next up, and this is where I got confused earlier, the TNA Knockouts World Championship will be on the line as Li Ying Li will take on Zaya Brookside. These two have been like best of friends. There's a little bit of animosity going into this Knockouts Championship match. And I think Li has been a great champion, but I think they've been on the precipice of making Zaya Brookside the face of the Knockouts division for so long. And I know I've said this in other companies, but it's a shit or get off the pot time. So I'm going to go Zaya Brookside and your new TNA Knockouts World Champion. Your thoughts, Miss Sammy?
No, I'm right there with you. I think this is one of the few things where it's like, if you don't do this, what are you doing? There's some question marks on this card overall. There's some question marks over the whole weekend on stuff, but this is one of the few where it's like, if you don't do this, what are you doing?
I agree there. Let's move on to a grudge match of sorts. Remember, these two were in the system, founding members of the original system, and now they've come apart as die-hard Eddie Edwards with his wife Alyssa Edwards in his corner will be taking on the Broken Moose. You think we're going to get a Broken Moose sighting? Some delete? This is going to be a grudge match. Who do you have leaving Slammiversary the winner? Die-hard Eddie Edwards or Moose? Delete.
Yeah, I got to go with Moose. Delete. Come on.
Moose. I'm a fan of the Moose. I'm a fan of the Moose.
Right? Be a fan of
I
Moose.
feel like Moose has to win this. I feel like we got to get the Moose. I feel like that's where we're at. Is Moose has to do it. So yeah, I'm gonna go Moose for the win here. And let's talk about the rest of the system because the the TNA, this is how bad it is. I thought it was a WWE event here. The TNA World Tag Team Championships are on the line as your champion. The system team of Brian Myers and Bear Bronson will be taking on the Hardys, Broken Matt Hardy and Brother Nero, so the Broken Hardys even. And last but certainly not least, the Righteous, Vincent and Dutch. And I would love Vincent and Dutch to get the win here and really catapult them. They are super compelling. They're super entertaining. I've loved their gimmick for years. I feel like they're not being utilized here as they were not utilized elsewhere. Granted, I love me some Bear Bronson. It was interesting when he came to TNA, especially after he's been in a lot of death matches recently and really made his name in the American deathmatch wrestling scene. But hey, here we are. He's a tag team champion with Brian Myers. No shame there. The Hardys, I don't need to see with any tag team belts ever again. Nothing against them. Love the Hardys. They're legends, but hey, we should be sunsetting their career and not putting them to the next level. So if I'm picking with my heart, I'm going and new the Righteous, but I feel like it's going to be the system and still. But I'm going to brave it, and I'm going to go with my heart because I want to see the Righteous win. Your pick, Miss Sammy.
I guess I should just pick the Hardys then. Just kidding. No, I'm gonna go with Ann Still. Although I agree on the Righteous. They're a team that's very interesting gimmick. The team works very well together. They put on really good quality tag team matches, and the gimmick's a lot of fun, and really should be given the opportunity to run with a championship belt. I think they're more than deserving of it. But no, I think it's gonna be an Ann Still here.
I can see that. Now it's up to the main event of the evening for the TNA World Championship. Your champion, Mike Santana, taking on the man who is cashing in his Call Your Shot championship match, the most wanted, Nick Nemeth. Is he still, can you consider him still the most wanted? I don't know. But, Nick Nemeth could have gone the heel route here with his Call Your Shot match. Could have gone the heel route a lot of times while he's had that Call Your Shot. Instead, He's going pure babyface, calling his shot at Slammiversary. He is challenging Mike Santana. And of course, the interesting note that we've been noting, we noted last week, and I'll bring it up before I even give you the pick. Mike Santana's contract with TNA Wrestling expires when June expires. So if you're doing the quick math, this Sunday is June 28th. That means after this Sunday, he's only got 2 days left on his contract. So, and speculation, rumors and innuendo say that he is WWE bound, whether that's NXT or main roster, yet to be seen, but World Wrestling Entertainment bound. Miss Sammy, we talked about it last week. We seem to be all in agreement about that last week, so I'm pretty sure I know who you're picking. But hey, to humor us all, who's leaving Boston? Your TNA World Champion.
Yeah, so if this situation arose in TNA, many a moons ago, we would have Dixie Carter at ringside, and she would be there to, watch the screw job finish, because we would just try and emulate that again, because why not? Because everyone would believe that Mike Santana is going to leave with the belt and go somewhere else with it. No. Nick Nemeth's winning this. There's no question about it, because even if, why would Mike Santana stay? He's accomplished everything there. There's nothing else for him to do there besides go to the next place and start crushing it over there. Like, stay there for what? We know he would get an offer from WWE. He'd probably get an offer from AEW. So stay in TNA for what? To continue doing the same things you've been doing before? No, it's time for him to move on.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if AEW did, but let's be honest, when he didn't leave, they're on the best of terms. I know we never say never, but let's be honest, you got to throw it out there. Yeah, I think WWE wants him. We know they want him. TNA is just kind of a feeder system into NXT and WWE at this point. They have some names that keep people coming through the doors. Everybody else is just kind of, it's kind of just a feeder system. No shade, but just calling it right down the middle, right?
It's a good place to be.
Yeah. Nick Nemeth is going to become your TNA World Champion. Mike Santana is probably NXT bound. And yeah, there you go. That's how Slammiversary will end.
Yeah, it'll be curious to see how they go about it. If there's some sort of I don't want to say like a burial of Mike Santana, but like a true completion of his character. That way, he is, shown the door in some sort of a way or something. That'd be interesting to see that. But yeah, I don't see any way for him to retain for what? To take the belt to NXT? Like, we're not doing this stuff. You already did that stuff. You guys worked together. Like, come on.
I will say this. I mean, if it was like, if you were going to another competitor, I could see doing the burial on the way out the door. But because he's going to WWE where they have a working deal, WWE's not going to let them squash him because they want him to still look good. So it's going to be a tremendous main event. Let's be honest. I just think Nick Nemeth is, it's no surprise when Nick Nemeth walks out champion.
Thanos inevitable.
All right, let's move right along because we got the next show that starts at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's going to be on the CW. That's right, emanating from the Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. NXT's The Great American Bash. Hell, they couldn't even put him on the Peacock this time. They couldn't put him on the ESPN app. No. Couldn't even put him on YouTube. They want to put him on TV because, it's going to go back to the days of Crockett Promotions versus WWE. Because of how AEW is going to have a show. They're trying to counter program it on TV. We all know what's going on without having to say it, but there it is. Got it out of the way. Listen, week in and week out, I think NXT is one of the better products on WWE television. Actually, one of the better products in all of wrestling. I think this card is set up and very nice. So we're going to run down the card. And I think that if this was standalone, I think if WWE wasn't being petty, they've done a great disservice to this NXT roster and this NXT, what should be a pay-per-view or a PLE or whatever the hell you want to call it. And because just out of spite. And I don't think it's going to drive down the numbers of AEW Forbidden Door one iota. There ain't a soul who was already going to watch AEW's Forbidden Door that is going to go, oh man, but I can watch NXT, the Great American Bash. There's not a soul. The only way that's happening is if somebody can't afford the $40 for the AEW Forbidden Door pay-per-view. And even then, I still don't see them tuning into the Great American Bash. Sorry, I don't think this works that way. I don't think there's enough overflow of people who are watching NXT and AEW. I could be wrong. I admit that that's always the case, but yeah. Let's run down the NXT Great American Bash show, shall we? Shiloh Hill, one of the people who has definitely broke out since, coming right up and through, taking on Tristan Angels. Miss Sammy, who you got walking out of Great American Bash, your winner?
Yeah, Shiloh just can continue that rise.
I love it. I think you're right. Shiloh Hill has been put the rocket ship on him, take him right to the NXT North American title or higher. I don't see it. He's over. People like him. He's got a good gimmick. Let's keep it with Shiloh Hill winning. Next up, the NXT Women's North American Championship will be on the line. Your champion, Zarya, taking on former champion and also former NXT Women's Champion, Tatum Paxley, who, once again, this is one of those situations where we know Tatum Paxley is main roster bound. She's been saying her goodbyes lately. So I think that they tipped their hand. Zarya is going to be and still the NXT Women's North American Champion. My question to you, and I think we're on the same page. My question to you is: are they still doing a great deal of disservice to Zarya? They stuck her with Sol Ruka, who was over. Then Sol Ruka goes on. Now we finally get to see Zarya. We're finally getting what we should have got. And now they're like, hey, you got the belt, cool. Everybody likes it. Your first huge title defense on a big scale pay-per-view PLE competitor brand, whatever you want to call it, right? You're going to go up against Tatum Paxley, which is a great match. But, Tatum Paxley's probably leaving to go to the main roster, so everybody knows you're going to win. Am I the only one that's thinking that that's kind of a crappy deal for Zarya?
Well, in some ways it is, but then you have the audience that, does care about wins and losses and be like, she's got to win over Sol Ruka. She's got to win over Tatum. That's some good feathers in the cap. So, it helps on that side of things. But I agree, though, where you really want, she really had sunk her teeth into a really good story with Sol Ruka. That was going on for a long time. And what we've seen with champions in WWE is that you get the belt and they don't always really know what to do with you. And we just kind of crave that really good championship run from someone chasing it. We're just really craving one of those good stories, and we haven't really had it since it's been a while. I can't even think of a real good one. These title, champions just haven't really had really great stories to put out there.
Yeah, I agree. There's nothing that you really can, for lack of better words, sink your teeth into.
Yeah.
And we've had that. I granted NXT has done a lot better story-wise than main roster WWE. Yes. But by how much? I think that this is another time where kind of a little bit of a fumble, if you will. Because I think that Zarya, and I mind grant you, I think this match is going to be fantastic. You're going to get 100% out of Tatum Paxley. I think this is going to be a really good match, but where you could have had an intriguing, who could win this one, really high stakes, winner could go on to technically take on the NXT Women's Champion. Now you're just going to be okay, it's going to be a good match, but we know Tatum Paxley's going up to the main roster, so Zarya is going over. And once again, not getting her just win over somebody, only getting the win because that person's getting promoted, if you will. All right, next up, these both are two young talents that I'm very excited have broken out of a mold that I thought they would never break out of. But we're going to get to see them in a great match, and in my opinion, this could be the sleeper pick of the entire weekend. Dion Lennox taking on Saquon Sugas. And I really, honestly, in my heart of hearts, think that these two could tear it up. Showing me a lot of stuff. Did not like the whole gimmick that they were saddled with originally, but I think the cream rises to the top. I think both of them have very high upsides, and this could be one of those coming out parties, if you will. Miss Sammy, who do you got walking out of Great American Bash, the winner?
This is a tough one because it works both ways for either competitor to really, get a win here. A win helps both, and neither one would either necessarily get hurt in a loss. You could really turn this into you could keep this going for a while. I don't know. This is one of those coin flip ones. Especially with Chef Michaels at the helm. Like, you can make either one work really, really well and keep this compelling. I mean, this is one of the better storylines in wrestling overall right now. So I don't know who are you going with on this.
I'm actually 100% with you. You could flip a coin here. I don't think it matters. I think as long as they go out, show up, and show out, I don't think it matters. This is gonna. I think if this match is handled well, this is a coming out party for both of them. Yeah. This is one of those parties where both, if they can go out there and have a tremendous match, you could possibly be looking at two gentlemen who are the future of NXT brand. I can see either one of these guys as an NXT champion. I can definitely see them as the NXT North American champion. I can definitely see a main roster bound. They both look amazing. They're both very athletic. They're both really good in the ring for being so young in wrestling, right?
Right. So good chemistry together. This is something where chemistry. This is something where these two could be paired together for the next 10, 15 years in their careers. Like this could be the story. This could be your Rock and Triple H, or people that are just paired together for forever, going back to this story. So it's got the potential of it.
I'll just say, because I've liked him longer, because he impressed me first. I'll go with Saquon Sugas for the win. Okay. But I like Deion Lennox too. Don't get me wrong. It's just that Saquon, you remember me saying when, I was like, he's the only person in that whole thing that was intriguing to me with Saquon Sugas. And now, you get to this part and I'm like, okay, I think that, give him the win. But if Deion Lennox wins, I'm fine with it. I think that I'm more interested to see how they handle the first major, like, real spotlight on them in a singles way. And like I said, if they go out there and tear the house down, I'm telling you, you've just watched the future go. And to your point, I think you'll see them wrestle so many times over the years, unless WWE is dumb enough to let one or both of them go.
Yeah.
Just in my opinion. Although, if that's the case, we'll win, because they'll easily get a job elsewhere and be just dominating it.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is something that I always kind of get confused on, why they always defended on NXT, because it's the WWE Women's Speed Championship. Ren Sinclair is going to take on Ariana Grace in a who gives a damn match. Let's be honest. But who do you have winning the Women's Speed Championship, Miss Sammy?
Well, luckily that's the speed belt. This should be quick. So we'll go with Grace, because why not?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I will go with, I like Ren Sinclair, but I'm going to go with Grace just because I feel like there's more of a heel movement there. You have the whole heel faction. I don't know. I just don't get the Speed Championship. Like, I get why they launched it on X, you know what I mean, to do a gimmick there and to try to make some money. But, like, to then have it as part of NXT pay-per-views makes no sense to me. Next up, though, making perfect sense to me, the NXT North American Championship's on the line. Your champion, Miles Bourne, taking on Tavion Heights. This match should be 5 stars easy. Easy. This should be a match of the weekend, match of the night match. I don't know about match of the year, but definitely match of the weekend, match of the night kind of contender. I'm not saying it is going to be, but it can be. The two of the most talented young up-and-comers, period, who do get it done in the ring. But there can only be one North American champion coming out of that. And I'm going to pick, and still, Miles Bourne. I think, Miles Bourne, all he does is win, 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 win. Not only is he winning in the ring, but he's also winning outside of the ring. If you know, you know. So I'm going to go Miles Bourne, because I think Tavion Heights, though, he could pull up the upset, but still, I'm going to go Miles Bourne. Your pick, Miss Sammy.
I think we're too much in lockstep, so I'm just gonna go with Heights in this one. Just so we got to try. We got to be a little different here. We can't always be aligned on everything. So
I got you, but once again, I think we can both agree it should be a great match, just on paper. I mean,
definitely a match of the weekend, match of the show type contender. But we already know who the match of the year is. That door is locked.
Well, I mean, it's going to be. I mean, I don't know about being locked, because there's still some great matches upcoming that we have on the docket. I'm being serious. I wish I could say. I mean, it's going to be hard to beat Mask versus Mask 125%. But you are staring down a possibility of Will Ospreay, MJF all in. You are staring down. you are staring down Will Ospreay versus Swerve Strickland, which we'll be talking about in a minute. There is possibilities. I'm not saying that it's going to be. Don't come for me. But, hey, listen, that's the whole point of competition. It's going to be hard to beat mass versus mass. I'm just saying that on the near docket, we do have a couple matches that I think could give it a run for its money. I'm not saying it will, but it could. Let's speak about the last two matches here. First up, the NXT Women's Championship match. Your champion, Lola Vice, taking on Kendall Gray. Kendall Gray is over. People love them some Kendall Gray. I just want to point that out there. The internet goes nuts for Kendall Gray. Lola Vice, I've never been big on her. We're going to be honest, so I'm going to be biased here. So, Miss Sammy, you get to go first. Who's walking out your NXT Women's Champion?
Kendall. It's time. Don't get me wrong, Lola. We've never been the biggest lovers of Lola Vice, so but maybe that's not fair to them. But I do think it's time.
I'm going to diverge from you here. I'm going to say Lola Vice because for some reason the powers that be, Chef Michaels loves him some Lola Vice.
Wow.
Not because it's not because I want it. I want Kendall. Listen, I want Kendall Gray to win. I listen, you can put anybody. Ariana Grace could be in there. I want her to win. Listen, you can pick one of the new kids that just came up who started training last week, and I would probably pick them. Yes, I know some people out there are going to be like, you don't like Lola Vice that much? No. The easy answer is Jada Parker should be your world champion. That's the easy answer. But for whatever reason, the powers that be love them some Lola Vice. When she won the belt, it was lackluster. Sorry, just calling it how I see it. And, And by the way, won the belt only so that way we could get JC Jane on the main roster, which I'm fine with that. But then, like when she beat Jada Parker in that fight, like, or even when she beat, I'm tired. Tired. Sorry, I get it. She's with Damian Priest. I get it. Shawn Michaels has a thing for her. I don't know. I just don't get it. And I know there's fans out there who are going to come for me. And that's fine. Come for me. I just don't get it. Point to one great Lola Vice match, and I'll acquiesce. Don't worry. I'll wait. I'll be right here every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll wait. Just saying. All right. Next up is a match that should be tremendous, and it should be your main event because it's for the NXT Championship. Your champion, Tony D'Angelo. That's right, Tony D, who complete makeover, making me want to watch him. Not that I didn't like him when he was the Don. I did like him when he was the Don still, but I like this makeover. I like this new one. He is taking on, I don't give a shit what they want to call him. It's evil. I love the fact that he's come over here and he's being evil just under the Naraku name. He's evil, and I love it. And I'm going to be the homer here because I am a New Japan Pro Wrestling fan through and through. We know it. And I'm going to say everything is going to be evil, and he's going to walk out the NXT champion. That is my prediction. However, I do understand that Mish and Rook could get involved. I think that that's how they might go. I think that you might get Tony D winning by shenanigans to set up a big three-way. By the way, that three-way match between the three of them, oh boy, that could be a match of the year contender when we're talking about it. So if they do pull that trigger, I'm good with that. But outside of that, I'm saying it now and I'm saying it proud. I'm going with Naraku to win the NXT championship. Your picks, Miss Sammy.
Yeah, no, I still think you can get to that three-way with Evil winning, and I am picking Evil here. It's such a compelling character. I'm glad that he's getting the opportunity to really do this for a larger American audience. We're New Japan fans, so we've been watching for a long time. We loved it there, and the only thing that we didn't love about it over there was eventually it was like, yeah, he just needs some new people to interact with. And guess what? Now he's got new people to interact with, and it's just as good as it was before. So
it's fantastic. I'm with you on that. Yeah. All right. That's going to do it. And we're going to be in the overtime here because once again, previews, but that's going to do it for NXT Great American Bash. I got to ask you, because I know we're going to talk about Forbidden Door because it's the one that goes on last. And is that card, as good as it is for NXT, is that card good enough to make you not want to tune in to Forbidden Door? That's the question.
No.
Because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm standing solidly with you. I think the Forbidden Door is that show of the weekend. I know that we criticized it early on, but oh boy, did they really give us something. And that's where we're going right now. San Jose, California, Sunday, June 28th. The 0 hour starts at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the same exact time as the Great American Bash. The actual show is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And oh boy, do we have a card for this one. Let's dive right in. We're already going to be in the overtime, so let's dive right in. Let's talk, of course, AEW let's say it right this time. AEW X New Japan Pro Wrestling X CMLL X Stardom Forbidden Door, because that is the actual full name of the show. All right, let's start off. Let's talk about it. I know we've been waiting to talk about this one, and here we are. Woo! We're going to break them up a little bit. We're going to break it up. So I'm going to start with my least favorite match of the card. It's going to sound wild, but I'm going to start that way on purpose. I don't know. I would assume this match should open the show just because of what it is. And I'm not saying that in a crappy way. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying logistically for the show, it should open first. And that is the steel cage match. The, 25 person at this point in juncture steel cage match. Everybody gets on the card, steel cage match, whatever you want to call it. By the way, there's a stipulation on this. If Team Briscoe wins, then Mark Briscoe gets a shot at the AEW World Championship. I still don't like that. We'll talk about it in a minute. We have Team Briscoe, Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, Takeshita, and Darby Allin taking on MJF and the Don Callis family of Kevin Knight, Kyle Fletcher, Jake Doyle, Kazuchika Okada, and Andrade El Idolo. By the way, they did make it slightly Forbidden Door-esque, because Jake Doyle's technically in the match, but that's still an AEW guy. Also, you could say Takeshita because he signed to like 3 companies right now, because he signed to DDT, New Japan, and AEW. But once again, this is pretty much an all AEW match. Yeah. I'm just going to say it. I don't care. And the reason I think it should open the show isn't because I think it's terrible. I think because logistically, the cage has to be over the ring for only one match.
Oh, but so you can bring it down for other stuff. So, you know.
But here's the other thing. I also think that if you're going up against NXT, not that I think that it's people are going to tune in, but hey, let's start off the show hot. Let's start off the show with a lot of violence. The steel cage match gets there. I just don't like the stipulation. I think the stipulation is dumb, not because I don't like Mark Briscoe, but because you have legitimately 2, 4, 6, so 12 men in this match. 12. And if a whole team of 6 wins, one of them gets the shot. Why didn't we make it easy? Why didn't we? I've said this before. Why didn't we have whoever got the win gets the shot? Because then it's interesting. Then Andrade El Idolo can get the win and get a shot at MJF, even though they're on the same team. If MJF goes to win the match, you could have Okada pull him off. You could have Andrade fighting. You know what I mean? It would the stakes would be higher if it was whoever gets the victory gets the shot. But instead, it's Mark Briscoe, and nothing against Mark Briscoe. I love Mark Briscoe, but are you really intrigued to see Mark Briscoe versus MJF for the World Championship? Anybody?
Yeah.
So I don't really care who wins. Who you got?
Andrade, because I like Andrade.
Andrade? Yeah, I like Andrade too.
I like how he's just going to win the match.
You like it because when his pants come off, we all know that. We all know. We're all there. We get it. We get it. And you know what? Hey, I'm not saying that I'm not a fan. I even said that that should be the world champion anyways. By the way, I did skip over a pre-show match just because of my hatred of that match, because Divine Dominion, Megan Bain and Lena Cross are going to be defending the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championships against Thunder Rosa in Olympia on the pre-show. So even more egregious, once again, the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championships in a division that I think is very good, on champions that I think are very good, is getting relegated to the pre-show. So Who do you have walking out of the pre-show, the AEW Women's World Tag Team Champions, Miss Sammy?
Well, considering it's on the pre-show, we're going to do an and still. But being that this is like a mixed, company card, why do you need to even have these belts defended on this show? Like you don't. Hey, Thunder Rosa still employed. Hey, good for you.
Well, here's the other part of it. I will give credit to this. Thunder Rosa and Olympia both are, Thunder Rosa is signed to both, but it's representing CMLL, so at least we're getting a Forbidden Door here, in a way, right? I mean, Thunder Rosa is still an AEW competitor as well. It is a cop. I didn't say it wasn't a cop out. I'm just saying.
Such a cop out.
I'm just saying. All right, let's go to let's go to the stuff that's really good, right? We'll start with the AEW World Tag Team Championship match. Cope and Cage, Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, your AEW World Tag Team Champions, defending against the Dogs, David Finlay and Clark Connors. I like how they've been portraying the Dogs, but the Dogs, they can't get a win to save their ass. And normally, Miss Sammy, I would say this is the spot where you give the Dogs the World Tag Team Championships. Unfortunately for the Dogs, All In is right around the corner, and I really feel like there is no way in hell, unless somehow they fumble the hell out of it, we are not getting the four-way ladders or tables, ladders, and chairs match between Cope and Cage, FTR, the Young Bucks, and the New Day at Wembley. I mean, if anybody doesn't think that's not happening, that's crazy, because that would mean the New Day doesn't sign. That's the only way that's not happening. And I think that for that match, there's no way that's not going to happen. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to say that we know Cope and Cage are going to win, and that kind of and still, so we can get there. And that kind of, I mean, where does that leave the Dogs overall? I don't know, but hey, they've been losing the whole time they've been in AEW, so why the hell not? At least they're not losing to the conglomeration again. Sammy, who's your pick to walk out AEW World Tag Team Champions?
Yeah, this is Cope in Cage. However, I have to admit I'm disappointed that the Road Dogg will not be joining the Dogs in this faction, because he's going to be the TNA booker. But I was hopeful. We could have done those old age outlaw, revival tag team matches and whatever. Anyway, no, Cope and Christian. Cope and Cage, that moving on. Next match. We could have had the Dogs with the Road Dogg managed by Snoop Dogg. Oh man. Snoop Dogg's back with them. Well, no, would he? Ooh, that's a good question. Is Snoop Dogg WWE again, or is he back in AEW again? No, I don't know. Either way, I don't think he has a loyalty. I don't think he has a loyalty. Next up, speaking of three-way tag team match, next up is a three-way tag team extravaganza. And this one, by the way, is very internationally flared, as we have the Young Bucks, Nick and Matt Jackson, taking on El Sky, which is Mystico and Mascara Dorado, and they're taking on Unbound Company, Shingo Takagi and Titan. So Shingo Takagi, New Japan, Titan does New Japan and CMLL, and then you have the CMLL / AEW team of Mystico and Mascara Dorada, and of course the Young Bucks. So they did mix it up. This is a great tag team match, by the way. And I love the fact that you have a little bit of every style in this match. You have the obviously the high flying lucha style with Mystico and Mascara Dorada. You have that strong New Japan style with Shingo Takagi and Titan, because Titan is a menace. And then you have the Young Bucks, who are one of, if not the greatest tag team in the world. I love this matchup. And I'm going to say, because once again, and I'm not mad about it, it is predictable, though, I think the Young Bucks come out on top, paving their road to All In. Your thoughts, Miss Sammy? Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. I think the Young Bucks, to just help kind of push that story along, coming off a win makes more sense. So, Bucks of Youth.
Yes. And once again, I'm not mad about that, because I think this is going to be a tremendous match. I think it's going to be one of those matches. Next up, we have the AEW Continental Championship on the line. Your champion and the leader of the Death Riders, Jon Moxley, taking on Ring of Honor's stalwart, the Ring of Honor World Champion, Bandido. Of course, the Continental title is on the line here. Who do you got walking out of Forbidden Door, the Continental Champion? Moxley. You know what? Yeah. I'm also with you. I think this is going to be, and I hate to say it, I like Bandido, but this is an easy Jon Moxley win. Easy. Yeah. I'm not saying that in the easy way. I think it's going to be a great match. I just don't think that there's any chance of Bandito winning, which with that being said, this is a great match to throw the swerve in because does it really matter if Moxley loses that belt? I don't think it hurts him.
Listen,
so if you want
when you say throw the swerve, and if you're throwing Swerve Strickland in the match, like
all right, calm it down. Next up, we got the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship on the line. So New Japan title on the line as your champion, Shota Umino, taking on the Bastard Pac. So interesting here, by the way, right? You have the Death Riders, Pac, taking on Jon Moxley's young boy from New Japan, Shota Umino. Remember, they used to call him Shuta. It is Shota, but they used to call him Shuta. And he was technically a member of the Blackpool Combat Club / Death Riders. He came to the ring to the Death Riders music for a while. I know he's no longer affiliated. And yes, Shota and Jon Moxley have had matches in New Japan. But it's interesting that there's a lot of connection here. And it should be a good match. I do believe you're in the hot seat first. So who do you got walking out? Your IWGP Global Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, Shota is going to be winning this match. It should be a very, very fun match, a very, very strong match on the card. We have to start talking about Pac and his AEW career. He's been there since the very beginning. That's something we should dive into at another point, though. But yeah, Shota.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the weeds there, but I'm gonna go with Shota as well. Shota will retain. It should be a phenomenal match. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm just gonna say what we're both thinking. Pac's and that shit or get off the pot territory. Like I don't think he's been focused enough.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. I don't think it's all AEW's fault. We've talked about this before, and I don't want to deep dive in it. I don't think it's all AEW's fault. There was some injuries. There was some other things going on. You know what I mean? Like, so right. We'll dive into that fully later because, at a different time, except for, in the interest of time restraints. But I will say it's one of those times, like I said, not everything's black and white. I think in this case, there's a lot of grays, right? Next up, and this is a very interesting one, especially the build to this. The AEW Women's World Championship will be on the line as your champion, the Toxic Spider, Tekla, takes on Starlight Kid from Stardom. Now, famously, one of the greatest promos of all time was Tekla coming out and saying, I didn't get fired from Japan. Well, wait, I did get fired from Japan. And when she got fired from Japan, she got fired from Stardom. She made her triumphant return to Stardom in the build to this matchup, which took the Japanese, and especially the Joshi wrestling fans, just went ballistic about it. Like not in a bad way. They were over the hill. Nobody ever thought that Tekla would ever step foot in a Stardom building ever again. And it happened to build up this match with Starlight Kid. Starlight Kid is one of the franchise players in Stardom. Definitely tremendous. Definitely has a history with Tekla. And I think this match right here, calling it right down the middle, this could be match of the night, match of the weekend. This could possibly be women's match of the year. This could be one of those contenders for match of the year, depending upon how it goes, because both of these young women can get it done in the ring. Although, let's be honest, I don't think they're going to give the title to Starlight Kid. I think that this is a foregone. It's another one of those predictable matches. Tekla's going to be still your AEW Women's World Champion, but I think that matters very little. I mean, I think that's going to hurt it for being match of the year because it's too predictable. But I think this is going to be a tremendous match. What say you, Miss Sammy?
I think this is an opportunity for AEW to go into the wrestling bag of tricks and for Tekla to lose in a disqualification type setting, so the belt doesn't change hands. So you can go out there, you can have the crazy match, and you can finally say Tekla just be like, I'm done with this, and just bash her over the head and get the loss and walk away with a ton of heat. And I think that kind of works. And AEW doesn't know, they don't go to that often. They very rarely do they go to it, and it would work here very well.
And I agree with you. And this is one of those times where if Tony Khan was to hear me, which I don't know if he doesn't, it is what it is. I'm sure he's a very busy man. I know he doesn't like those non-finishes, but in this case, it's not a non-finish. In this case, it's a great finish. Because like you just said, in this particular case, you have the opportunity to have a tremendous match where Tekla just takes the cheap way out, whether it's with, she's in the faction. They could come down. We could get Julia Hart out there. We can get Sky Blue out there, interfere. Cool. We could have a smudge with some Stardom wrestlers just to kind of give it up. Or you, like you said, you get to the end of the match, you can't put her away, and she's like, all right, right in front of the ref, belts her with a belt. Here we go. I get disqualified. I lose the match. Cool. I'm still champion. That's all that matters. And that's the kind of attitude that Tekla has. And it would fit into that storyline. Like, oh, I'm not letting this belt go back to Stardom. And you could even have her say, hey, you know what, Starlight Kid? You're great. You're tremendous. I knew you were. We've had many battles in the past. We know each other. There was a possibility you might have had me beat. I couldn't risk that. So I did what I do best. I took you out. That's it. That's all it is. Business. I dig it. There's a lot of ways to tell it. I'm doing this match here on purpose instead of doing them back to back because the women's world title we just talked about, because we have the final for the Women's Owen Hart Cup. Winner will receive an AEW Women's World Championship match at All In Wembley Stadium this August. The two participants is Mercedes Moné, who is also the 2025 Women's Owen Hart Cup winner, and the surprise underdog, Maya World, is her challenger. So one of them will leave as the Owen Hart Cup winner. One of them will punch their ticket to the United Kingdom, to Wembley Stadium for All In August to take on, presumably, Tekla for the AEW Women's World Championship in a very good women's division in a marquee situation. No pressure at all, Miss Sammy. Who do you have leaving Forbidden Door as the Women's Owen Hart Cup winner of 2026?
Hogan must pose. Mercedes must dance. It's that simple.
I was going to say, Monet must. Monet? I don't know. And you're true.
Well,
here's the thing.
Yeah, so let's expand on it. So AEW does a good job of building up and reminding the audience that some of the Owen Cup tournament, the Dynamite Diamond Ring, that these things exist and they have significance. So being a two-time winner of this tournament is a really good feather in your cap. So I think Mercedes being a two-time winner, there's nothing wrong with that. The way they got here, we don't really know because of the unfortunate injury. So yeah, so
not their fault.
And yeah.
I'm just going to defend that. Not their fault.
Yeah,
I think that the build was for us to have Willow Nightingale as challenging for the world title in Wembley. She's the most over woman in AEW. She's a tremendous wrestler. The groundswell was there. They were going in the right direction. Unfortunately, there was an injury. You have to go to the cupboard. And I've said this time and time again. At the end of the day, it's the wrestling business. You are going into Wembley trying to sell 100,000 plus tickets. Who knows if they'll get there? I think if they book the show the way we think they're going to book the show, they're going to come close. I'm being all honest.
They'll beat their first one. They could beat their first one. Yeah.
Right down the middle. Where I'm not saying this to be a homer. I'm just saying with the fact that you could end up with that four-way tables, ladders, and chairs match we talk about, with the fact that you could end up in a second, we'll talk about it, with the hometown boy who is also the most over star in your company in the main event against your greatest heel, which is compelling on its own. You need marquee matches. The marquee, when it reads Tekla defending the AEW Women's World Championship against Mercedes Moné, that is what you need. Nothing against Maya World. I think Maya World is a tremendous wrestler. I think she's going to have an amazing future. I think she's going to be a top star, mark my words, champion wherever she goes. I really believe that. Mm-hmm. And I believe that this tournament has actually given her that one catapult to prove that to the world. However, it's a business. Mercedes Moné. Mercedes must win. Mercedes versus Tekla is money. It's a marquee match when you're looking at Wembley Stadium. Like I said, nothing against Maya World, because this is not Maya's last chance. This is Maya's first dance on the big scale with the big lights, and she's taking advantage of it. I think her and Mercedes are going to go out there and have an amazing match, because I think Mercedes wants to put her over. You can tell by how hard she's already worked to kind of build this heel moment with her. You know what I mean? Like, when Mercedes motivated, it's a good thing. And I feel she's very motivated. And it's not, and I know some people have been pondering that she's motivated because she feels passed over. No, I think she was perfectly fine making movies and taking some time off. I don't think she was going to come back until after Wembley, to be quite honest with you. But I think, like I said, I think it really came down to Willow got hurt. Tony Khan said, hey, I need you to come back to work. And being the pro that she is, Mercedes went, all right, boss, I'm coming. You know? The reason she dropped all those belts wasn't to go back to WWE, as we found out. The reason she dropped all those belts was because she was taking time off and she's making movies and shooting shows. She's doing stuff. She's a very popular commodity. So the fact that she was willing to drop all of that to come main event in the women's capacity, you know, so to save a show. And I shouldn't say save a show, because I think All In's going to be fine without it. But I think I think we should be giving her the credit she deserves. I think that the haters, I get it, the Monet haters will always be out there. But come on, give her credit where credit's due. She's showing up and showing out. And whether she wins that, I mean, I feel like because of this, she should win at Wembley, because I mean, it's the one belt that's eluded her. And you know me, I was always like, oh, don't put it on her. But I feel like if she's doing you a solid, let's get her the belt on her, have her have the belt, and then we can have Willow chase after her, because there's a broad range of storyline there. That's just my philosophy, especially knowing that she sacrificed some stuff. She deserves a win. All right. We got probably the match that excites us most on this card up next. Well, second match, because I think the main event that I want to talk about, the match that should be the main event, would excite us the most. But Kenny Omega, the cleaner, the best bout machine, taking on the technical wizard, the man who rules the Mighty Don't Kneel, Zack Sabre Jr., ZSJ. Man, you want to talk about great stories without having a story. And I mean, just from the cut, Kenny Omega, one of the greatest gaijin to ever wrestle in Japan. Did a lot of impressive things. First gaijin to win the G1 Climax tournament. He defeated. He's the man who ended the reign of Okada. He at one point in juncture took out Tanahashi, even though Tanahashi got him back, right? Like he did a lot in Japan. Huge star. Then you have Zack Sabre Jr. When Omega left, we all thought that the next big New Japan guy was going to be Will Ospreay, and to an extent, it was
for a short period. Yeah.
But then Will came to the U.S. But even before he came to the U.S., Zack Sabre Jr. made that name for himself, becoming the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. Then main eventing and winning in the main event of the Tokyo Dome, which has never been done by a foreigner, to retain that belt. Let's be honest. Won the New Japan Cup, has done very well in everything he's done, was the first ever and reigned for a while as the New Japan Pro Wrestling World Television Champion. Zack Sabre Jr. has done it all. Arguably, on paper, the next Kenny Omega, as far as Japan was considered for a foreigner, for a gaijin, right? Now we get it. I mean, this is not a first time ever. The two of them have had matches before, but now on the big stage, we've got the old lion in Kenny Omega, and we got this young lion who has come up and taken the pride over. Can Kenny Omega overcome ZSJ? Or will ZSJ just make Kenny Omega another victim on the trail of making the argument of being one of the greatest of all time? This is a great, like I said, you don't even have to tell that story. The story tells itself. I personally think, man, I'm of two minds here. It depends on what Kenny Omega wants to do in the immediate future. And what I mean by that is, I think that there's still another run in Kenny Omega. I don't think he's aged out yet. I don't think that he's done. I mean, I know he's had a string of bad luck, especially with the diverticulitis, especially with, some other injuries, some nagging stuff. But I think with that being said, I think he knows, Tony Khan knows, us wrestling pundits know, the fans know that means that we have limited time. Let's be honest with Kenny Omega. But I think that means there's one great run left. Whether that includes the AEW World Championship or not is irrelevant. I think it will. I'm just going to say that up front. I'm not saying win. I think in the next year, you'll see him regain that title one last time. Honestly, Scout's honor, swear.
I agree with that.
I think because of that, that starts at Forbidden Door. I think he gets a big win over Zack Sabre Jr., which will be a huge win in a tremendous match. I think this is going to be one of those match of the weekend, match of the night, and possibly when we were talking once again, it could, if given the time and given the story, given the, in-ring stuff, could give Mask versus Mask a run for the money for match of the year. It's that damn good on paper. I don't know if it will give Mask for match, but I think it's going to give a run because it's that damn good on paper. But I think Kenny Omega is going to win because I think we're going to set up for that final Kenny Omega run. I, as a Kenny Omega fan, never want that to happen, but I understand that we are going to be on some borrowed time, if you will. Miss Sammy, who do you got winning at Forbidden Door?
I actually agree with everything you said there about Kenny Omega and, of course, Zack Sabre Jr., who's the amazing pro wrestler that he is. However, I disagree that Kenny Omega is going to win this match. And the reason why is because the story they have started to tell between Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega. And I think that the loss here actually is what really gets him to realize maybe I don't have it. And that's the catalyst, along with Will Ospreay, who's going to go and win on the night. Sorry, spoilers, and go on to Wembley. And that kind of is going to fuel a heel Kenny Omega.
I think that too. I can see that going either way. I just think that I think that could be either way.
It works both ways.
Yeah, it does work. Believe it or not, who wins here? It's going to sound cheesy as it always does, but the fans win here. You got two great wrestlers going to have a great wrestling match, and no matter what happens here, you're going to have some great stories that come out of it. And either way, you're going to end up with the last, in my opinion, the last great Omega run. Like I said, I hope I'm wrong. I hope he has another run after that, but let's just be honest with everything that's happened. We have to be realistic. We really do.
I guess one way to look at it is this very well could be the last matchup between these two. So I would think they're going to go all out.
True. Let's talk about what you already alluded to, because we already got there. I feel that this should be the main event of the evening for obvious reasons. It's the Men's Owen Hart Cup 2026 final. Winner will receive an AEW World Championship match at All In from Wembley Stadium. First up, the Billy Goat, the aerial assassin, Will Ospreay. And he takes on the franchise of AEW and the most dangerous man in wrestling, Swerve Strickland. Listen, I don't have to sell this match. Don't have to do it. You have two of the very best in the world today. You make an argument that either one of them is the best in the world. You have the most over wrestler in AEW currently in Will Ospreay, which there's nothing wrong with that. If you don't believe me, listen to the chants. The deafening Ospreay chants are pretty indicative of that. And then you have Swerve Strickland, the franchise player. Nobody performs in big matches in 2026, and not just AEW. I'm going to put it out there on the line. In all of pro wrestling, like Swerve Strickland. When the lights shine the brightest, Swerve Strickland goes to work. I know I wasn't going to bring it up this week, but the New York Knicks had their celebration parade. And there's a very popular speech from the mayor of New York where he says that given 0.4%, the Knicks still won because that's when we go to work. That's when New Yorkers go to work. Well, guess what? I'm going to use that example. Giving him 0.4% to win this match is where Swerve Strickland goes to work and shows why he's one of the best wrestlers in the world, bar none. And that's why when you said that it was a clean-cut shot first for Mask versus Mask, which I agree with you is the match of the year, and it is a clear-cut match of the year now, we ain't seen Sunday yet. And Swerve versus Ospreay could easily surpass it. The reason being, and I'm not saying it'll be by a mile. I'm not saying it could be 1A, 1B even. But you're looking at two guys who you know are going to put on a show. They're going to put on, and hence why I should go on last, because I don't see anybody following it. Who wants to go on after this match? Nobody. Because it ain't going to be an easy feat. So, I you already picked yours, so I'm going to give yours before I pass over. I'm also picking Will Ospreay to win. I know it's not the sexy pick. I know it's predictable, but I think you have to be predictable here. Does that affect my match ranking on this match? No. Do I understand why you would, which your argument for match of the year would be because it was too predictable? I understand why that could be that. But then again, you could also explain that El Grande Americano defeating Chad Gable in Mask versus Mask was also predictable because of how over the new El Grande Americano is in Mexico. So it would have been dumb in AAA to let the heel win. So predictability does not disqualify a match as long as the match is damn good. As long as it makes me question that I might be wrong that it's predictable, which Mask versus Mask made me a few times think that I was going to be wrong. And I think that's going to happen here. So that's my thoughts. Your stage is yours. What do you think's going down? I know you already gave your pick because you already said it. But what do you think is going down in the what should be main event of Forbidden Door?
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly set up for the AEW match of the year. I will say that this has the potential to be that by a mile, and there would be and while it's still June, there's plenty of time to catch up. There's a lot of shows, including Wembley. It would be a tough mountain to climb. Although, Darby, he climbed a pretty tough mountain to climb, but anyway, I digress. I guess the curious thing to be is going to be, for me, is where does Swerve go from here? Because Swerve's the guy. Swerve is the guy, and you got to find something for him to do. So where do you go from here?
I mean, but here's the thing. I'm not worried too much about Swerve because you can plug and play Swerve anywhere. That's
Agreed.
the nice part about a Swerve strictly.
Right. It's just, what are you going to do with him? I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do with him.
I mean, like I said, once you get past Wembley, he's always in the title picture. Once you get past Wembley, here's the thing, kind of to what you said earlier, I look at it more of like a hunger thing. The loss makes him hungry. I was this close to going to the biggest show of the year and challenging for the world title. This close to getting my world championship back. And instead of like sulking and being upset, I think he's going to go to work and go, okay, next time, it's not going to be this close. Next time I'm going to win by a mile. I'm going to prove why I'm the most dangerous man. I'm going to pull because I feel like the story in this match is going to be who can pull the trigger. One of these two men has to pull the trigger. Remember, they became friends. They're friends. Like that was part of the storyline. I understand that, they've gone their ways now, but the storyline is they have a mutual respect and a friendship. So even though he's the most dangerous man, when it's time to pull the trigger on Will Ospreay, will Swerve Strickland be able to do it? And I think that's what the story is going to be. In my opinion, if you want to tell a great story, that's where it's going to be. Swerve's going to miss for once. He's not going to shoot. He's going to be like, I just can't do it. And he's going to try another avenue. And because of the training from the Death Riders and John Moxley telling him he has to go to that next level, I think when given the opportunity, Will Ospreay is going to take the shot. Whether that's the Tiger Driver, whether that's going above and beyond, whether that's taking advantage of something he wouldn't have taken advantage of before. I feel like when the rubber hits the road, the whole story of Will Ospreay trying to get that harder edge, that killer instinct, that's going to play out in this match because that's what we need going into Wembley. And then we need one more. We need him and Moxley in between to kill time to have that one final test. Not as a rivalry, but hey, I've given you the keys. Now you have to prove it. Prove it against me. Like this isn't for your shot. This isn't for a belt. This is just to prove that you can get it done. So now you have to step in there with somebody you respect again and get it done, because if you don't, MJF is going to do whatever it takes. And we know that to stay champion. There is no limit to what MJF will or won't do to retain that belt.
Right.
And I feel like that's the story they're telling going into Wembley. And I feel like if they tell it well, it's going to be chef's kiss. And we're all going to talk about how this is one of the greatest stories in AEW history, the Will Ospreay. If you will, the Will Ospreay finish the story. You know what I mean? Will be the thing of legends for a while. My opinion. That's just my opinion. But what say you? If you were watching us on replay, go ahead, leave comments. We always like to read them. Tell us who you think is going to win. Tell us what event you're most excited for on the weekend. Tell us what match you're most excited for on the weekend. There's a lot of them. It's taken us over an hour and a half to run down the 4 cards because there's that much. And next week, we get to come back and run down what happened on all the cards because that's what we do here on 607 TWS, the wrestling show, every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, you can find us live on Twitch, X, and of course, the YouTube channel, which I'm going to put that graphic up. So if you're watching us on X or Twitch right now, which I know some of you are, make sure you head over to the Fanlight Zone YouTube, smash that subscribe button, click the bell icon for notifications, and hit that thumbs up to help us conquer the algorithm. Make sure you also head over to fanlightzone.com, the place that powers all of this. Find out all of our great social medias, and make sure you are following us on there because I know that Ken M will be posting about wrestling all weekend on our socials. He'll be watching the shows. I know that I picked on him about being a jabroni earlier, but he's going to make up for it when he's posting about the shows on the Fanlight Zone the Fanlight Zone social media channel networks all weekend. Plus, you're going to want to check out all that great comic book and pop culture action because, hey, I got a surprise for y'all. It's not really a surprise. Supergirl came out this weekend. That's where Ken M is right now instead of here talking about pro wrestling. So I think there's going to be some thoughts from the Fanlight Zone team about Supergirl. I think that you might even have some thoughts about that. Eventually.
My plan is to go tomorrow. That is my plan. And I know going to the movies on a Friday night is kind of crazy. However, there is a local movie theater that tends to be a little quieter. And again, I should be able to make it work. That's my plan. Plans change though. We'll see what happens.
I'm going to actually mirror you. My plan is also to go tomorrow, because I don't have time with all the wrestling between Saturday and Sunday. Because like I said before, I am working during the day, while Night of Champions is on. So I'm going to be watching Night of Champions at night. And then on Sunday, I'm working during the day. But then I'm going to be watching wrestling. I'm going to be catching up on TNA, watching Forbidden Door live. I'm going to be honest about it. And then catching NXT replay whenever I can. So I do have that recording on my YouTube TV so I can watch NXT. Sorry, I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, we might watch the first hour live just because I don't always watch 0 hour but I when Forbidden Door clicks on, I'm Forbidden Door all day. I'm sorry. I'm calling it right down the middle, folks. Calling it right down the middle. You can't call it more down the middle than that. Oh, by the way, Ken M just dropped in there. He said, yes, there's a plan. There's always a plan. The jabroni joined us.
He doesn't have a plan. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
I'll show it up there. There it is. Look at that. The boss came through. Heard that I was calling him a jabroni for missing the show. Woo! That's what we do around here at Fanlight Zone /607 TWS. But yes, there is a great plan.
That's what we do. We talk trash about the boss. Oops.
No, we did that. We do that everywhere we go.
This is true. This is true.
We just love it. We shoot. Although here we love our boss.
Yes.
Throwing it out.
This is also
anyways, Ken, hopefully pay attention to those socials. I'm sure you're going to hear his reaction to Supergirl at some point tonight. With that being said, though, let's close out the show and the how we do every week. Once again, if you want to come chat pro wrestling with us every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Fanlight Zone YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that you're ready for it. You can also catch us on Twitch or X for the live show. The replay, if you're watching the replay, because we know a lot of you do, thank you so much for tuning into the replay. It's always up and always on the YouTube channel for Fanlight Zone. So check it out and hit fanlightzone.com. But for myself, for Miss Sammy, and of course, for the boss, Ken M, who graced us with his presence at the end of the show. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Enjoy. Don't be toxic and running around and stuff. I mean, enjoy what you like, but enjoy. We have this glorious wrestling weekend, so enjoy it. Be a fan. Watch whatever shows you want to watch. If you want to watch all of them, if you want to just watch one of them, whatever you're going to do, make sure you just enjoy it, because this is, as much as it is a mistake in a lot of ways to have this many shows, it's also a blessing for us wrestling fans who can enjoy pro wrestling, because there was a time we didn't have all of this. So it's a spoil of riches for us, and let's enjoy that. So keep that in mind. Don't get too bogged down in the toxicity. Don't get too bogged down in the tribalism and arguing your points. Just enjoy the weekend. Enjoy whatever shows you're going to watch. Enjoy the matches you do, because that is what is important as wrestling fans, and I can't stress that enough. And of course, until me and Miss Sammy and possibly the boss see you next week, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And most importantly, later, wrestling fans.